Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Thanks for joining us. Beef cattle producers understand the importance of keeping cattle healthy, and a herd health program is an essential part of any farm or ranch management program. A good year-round program can improve the efficiency and profitability of your operation. So today, we're going to focus on this important issue and talk about some of the tactics and products producers can use to help ensure healthy, productive cattle. Joining me now is a great panel of experts. In fact, to begin with, we have Randy Asher. He's the regional manager with Alltech. Randy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I graduated from Texas A&M University. I grew up west of San Antonio, about 75 miles. I've been associated with the beef cattle industry and the dairy industry my whole life. Before coming to work for Alltech, I had a consulting business for 18 years. So.
Fantastic. Glad to have you with us, Randy.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to be here.
And coming to us from North Country, Brian Dorsey, Dr. Brian Dorsey, large animal vet. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, grew up on a cow-calf operation in northeast Nebraska, went to South Dakota State and then Iowa State to veterinary school. Ended up in southwest Minnesota as my first job out of school, doing mixed animal medicine. So we have a clinic, has 15 veterinarians, and so we do all species of livestock production, and so we have been in Worthington for the last 13 years.
And rounding out our panel, we have Dr. Matt Hersome from the University of Florida. Dr. Hersome, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an associate professor and extension beef cattle specialist at the University of Florida. Originally from Iowa, degrees from Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and then I've been in Florida for the past 13 years, servicing the great beef industry in Florida.
There's a lot of mother cows down there, aren't there? So guys, I know I've heard you guys talk about this three-legged stool that begins with the cow, includes the calf, and also includes what happens at the feed yard level. So let's start at the first leg, that cow portion. What can we do to set that cow up to deliver a healthy, vigorous calf?
Kevin, I can grab that one first. Now, I think as a nutritionist, nutrition is probably one of those key things when we start talking about last trimester preparation for that cow. Making sure she's got enough energy, protein in her diet, she's getting enough to eat. That way as she approaches parturition of that calf, that she's got all the energy stores that she needs to get through delivering that calf, start the colostrum flow, and start that lactation that's key to getting that calf off to a great start.
You know, you talk about colostrum, and I know that's critically important, making sure that calf gets colostrum the first couple of hours. What are the kinds of things we can do nutritionally to make certain that we set that cow up to provide the highest quality and most amount of colostrum we can?
Again, I think making sure she's got all the groceries that she needs. That is probably the primary concern, is making sure she's got enough to eat. Energy, protein to make all those antibodies, and then mineral nutrition is a key component of making sure she's got good and high quality colostrum to deliver to that calf during that first 24-hour period.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The longer I'm a veterinarian, the more I see the impact of good nutrition on calf health and colostrum quality. So getting that calf off to a great start certainly makes my vaccination program that I've developed for her to maximize those antibodies going into that colostrum. If I've got a cow that just doesn't have the nutrition set just exactly where it needs to be, we've really set that calf back.
Compromise that health of that calf for the rest of its life.
For the rest of his life,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about mineral. I want to spend a couple of minutes on that because I've always heard that mineral program is so critically important to that cow. Tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, one of the things we don't usually think about too much is at parturition, we've got vitamin E levels down, zinc levels have dropped, neutrophil capacity of that cow's gone downhill greatly. She needs absolutely a full complement of all trace elements, and especially copper, because while she's gestating, her copper stores are going to the calf's liver. So keep making sure that trace element nutrition is where it needs to be is vitally important. And then of course, we can go right on into the immune system and looking at everything involved there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. What's your sense of the role that minerals play on an immune system?
Well, I think first of all we got to make sure we're getting that mineral supplement into those cows first and foremost, because if we're skimping on minerals during that last period, we, like Brian said, we are setting everything back. And so, having those minerals available and making sure that she's taking them, the cow's taking them in, but then they are available for metabolism for herself to set her up and then transferring those to the calf. So when that calf hits the ground, he's got some adequate stores of minerals then to start. All his physiological processes are absolutely important.
Go ahead.
That's interesting, because when I'm out troubleshooting a scours problem or an ammonia problem on some farms, you'd be surprised how many mineral deficient calves we're dealing with. And then as we start to go back and address that mineral deficiency that we got to get back to the cow, man, our health really comes on, and it really makes a big difference for those guys.
That's really helpful. Let's talk about, so go ahead.
Well, I was just make a comment on colostrum quality too. Using something like biomoss to improve IgG levels in that colostrum and making sure we've got a full complement of immunoglobulins that we need in that colostrum is vitally important as well. So between minerals and looking at colostrum quality and overall health, I think we can get a lot more accomplished sometimes than we think we can.
And my sense, you said a key thing, it's not just about having the minerals available, making sure they get inside the cow, right? And so make sure they're in a palatable enough format that we're actually getting consumption of what we're purchasing and putting out in front of them, right?
Yeah.
And the proper ratios.
Yeah, that's the other
not
thing.
having antagonistic reactions.
Yeah. Let's talk about stress for a minute. Calving is a stressful time, both for the cow and calf. What role does stress play in long-term health?
Stress is one of the things, I'll jump in, that's a direct impact on health. We see stress, cortisol levels in that cow rise, and she just doesn't put the quality of IgGs into that colostrum like we'd like sometimes. And stress can be lots of things. It can be weather, it can be predators. The ranchers I work with out west, they've got coyote problems. That's a form of stress. In our farms in Iowa, weather and mud can be a stress. So we see some seasonal stress. And so anything we can do to minimize that certainly reduces the chance that our cow will pass something pathogenic onto our calf and have problems. So
yeah, I look at stress as almost a tax on the system with no return. That it's just dealing with stress is just sucking nutrients up either from the cow or in the calf, and those nutrients then aren't available to go for growth, and that's really what we're after. And the calf, once it hits the ground, is hit the ground running, start growing, because we need an adequate weight per day of age on that calf before weaning, and those first 30 days are critical to establishing that.
Yeah, I've been in some presentations that suggest in your first 56, 60 days of life, we want that calf to double in weight. We want that calf to get off on a really solid start from a growth standpoint, consumption standpoint. So stress is critically important. Do you have any thoughts about how we can minimize stress?
I think planning the work and working the plan is kind of what my advice to my producers on the farms is let's plan for the worst case scenario. So let's put up some extra bedding. So let's scatter those cows out, when we need to, when we have the opportunity to. Let's bring them in and make sure that our barns are clean, our calving pens are clean, so that we're not putting more undue stress on them by poor planning on our part. So
you've mentioned several things there, and my first mind goes to scours. I mean, when you have baby calves, typically you have scours at some level, hopefully not a big one, but what are some things we can do from a management and nutrition standpoint to reduce scours in those young calves? Randy?
Well, bedding, Brian made a great point. Clean bedding, absolutely a must if you're in a confined area. And the other thing is that overcrowding situation that we run into from time to time. So, from a management standpoint, those are great. And from a nutritional standpoint, like these guys said, great mineral program and maybe the use of something that will stimulate the immune system like biomoss would and grab those gram-negative pathogens.
You bet. Well, yeah, go ahead.
We've had great success using biomoss in our cow mineral, pre-calving cow mineral, just so to reduce the exposure from that vertical exposure from that cow to that calf. And so those tools are out there and placed appropriately. They make great strides in reducing scours.
Yeah, and I think Brian made a great point, is working the plan and being proactive. Unless this is the first cow you've ever owned, you've gone down this path before, so be prepared for it. And part of that means getting products into the cow prior to calving, and so she's ready to deal with that stress, and it has the system set up for the calf then to be successful.
Set ourselves up for success, right?
About the first 5 months of life, they're not really fully immunocompetent.
Right.
And if you think about the gut as a functioning immune system, which we do, the lamina propria, Peyer's patches, et cetera, there's a lot of things going on. So as long as we can keep digestive tract integrity at its best, nutritionally or from a management standpoint, doing certain things, that first few months of life, we're ahead of the ball game later on down the road.
Yeah, and we want to talk a little bit more about biomass and some elements later in the life cycle after a few moments.